racism, just usual bullshit.
And he doesn't look well. He's
He,
definitely not well. He's
yeah,
definitely not well.
he ain't dead, but he does. I mean, do you see that palm? Very discolored. He looked like he was. I think they probably pumped him up full of stuff. Hey, all, you joined me mid conversation. I was a masochist. I don't know why I did this. It's 3:30. I have so much stuff to do, but I watched the entire Trump press conference that was supposed to start at 2 p.m. Then got postponed to 2:30. Then finally he came on at 2:30. Folks, spoiler alert: he's not dead. He's an aging, decaying 79-year-old man. Festivus, grievance, lies, projection, corruption, dangerous stuff though that you should parcel through. Furthermore, surrounded by the whitest, most mediocre people on earth, no people of color, the White House press conference now represents North Korea. Not a single real journalist asking actual any questions, no pushback. The fact remains he's the oldest person to be elected. He has cankles. His discoloration on his right palm was just so notable that it looked like it was like like a plastic surgery. No explanation why he was MIA Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. No explanation of why there was nothing scheduled for the weekend. Uh, Doubled down on his unpopular tariffs, doubled down on his unpopular trade wars, doubled down on his unpopular unleashing of the National Guard, attacking blue cities, making shit up about DC crime, all this stuff. No mention of the fact that he is perfectly fine with criminals. He's a criminal, pardoned 1600 insurrectionists. No questions asked about why Ghislaine Maxwell was transferred to a minimum security camp. No questions asked why an Israeli cyber security man arrested in Nevada for pedophilia was allowed to flee. No mention whatsoever of the Epstein files or the Epstein document. No questions. What one type of trolley question by someone in the right wing about, I thought you were dead, which I think actually Lev wasn't good, right? Because when you actually bring up his health and you have to comment on your health, that means to me, Lev, you're paying attention to it. And the fact that you're actually acknowledging it means now it's in the news. And I think it is not good for a strong man to be talking about his death and his ailing health. I know some people think it's a distraction, but I think it's a weakness for Donald Trump, along with the economy and Epstein. The fact that he had to address it, to me, is a weakness and a sign that MAGA was actually responding to it. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. And also another very important point, a lot of bullshit, a lot of lies. I went through it. I tweeted it, blue skied it. But the main announcement was that he's moving Space Command from Colorado to Huntsville, Alabama. Why? Just bullshit. Waste of time, waste of money. Someone asked, well, what about all the qualified people who are working in Colorado? Will you move them? And he is like, we'll find new ones. But he did say twice, and I think this is important. Well, why are you moving it? Colorado's corrupt. They have mail-in voting, and mail-in voting is corrupt, and that's the main thing. Mail-in voting is corrupt, and it's over, and I can't do it. And nobody asked him, well, if it's corrupt, why did you vote by mail-in voting? If it's corrupt, why does America allow mail-in voting and so many people use it? If it's corrupt, are you saying that all your Republican voters who depend on mail-in voting? Nobody asked that because we don't have a White House press corps because we have North Korea. But folks, he's signaling to you. They're going to go after mail-in voting. They're already going after, they're doing gerrymandering. He does not plan to leave. They're consolidating power. And he also left it open. There's just a question of when he will send the National Guard to Chicago. So with all of that, I brought in Lev. And Lev had a really good piece where he has insider sources. Lev Parnas was a former Trump fixer, went to jail, came back, and now is dedicated to trying his best to bring down his former boss. And Lev did a piece, yes, like folks, what I'll say real quick before handing over to Lev, Lev's sources have been on point. Lev's been on my show several times, and when he says watch this space, so far he's batting 3 for 3. And I mentioned to Lev yesterday when I was talking to Danielle that your source says he's not well. He's not dead. He still didn't look right to me, folks. He's 79 years old. Let's talk about his health first before we break down everything else. I give it to you, Lev.
Yeah, no, thanks, Waj. And first of all, thanks for having me. And the way you break it down, nobody could do it. So definitely, I love listening myself. I forget all the craziness that we're going through because, we're in the moment and, every day it's that moment of what's that craziness that we're responding to. And that's one of the things I say that we need to take to be able to beat him at his own game, take away the news cycle. We need to be proactive and not retroactive. But so many things going on. but let's start talking about his health. And as I wrote in my piece, it's what not what is being said, it's what not is being said is what is the
Mm.
scary part. So first of all, I wanted to watch him, and by watching him, listening to him, he's definitely not something is wrong. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to sit here and say it's it's age or because his cankles or because of his something going on with his heart. I'm not going to sit here and say that, but what I will say is that with my sources, the one thing I realized this whole week is that there's only very few people that really know what's going on with Donald Trump's health, and I'm talking about very, very few. And I'm talking about like maybe 3, 4 inner circle, like Susie Wiles, Stephen Miller, and some
Mm.
others that are close to him. Even people like Hegseth and others have no idea what's going on exactly. The other interesting part is if you watched the way he started the press conferences, he was gone for a week. So let's talk about some facts. The way
Yeah.
he tried to downplay it, and none of the media questioned him or even asked one simple question, like you said, because we have a North Korea type of a media situation, is that you were gone for 1 week straight. It's not about, yes, Biden might have not come out 3 months, but your whole shtick is you're out there every day. Your whole shtick is there, and then you have a press corps. So when you say I was very busy this week, I was all over the place. I was saying, I mean, that if you were out there doing, there would be a press corps following you. We would know where you were. There would be pictures taken care. That did not happen. Also, the way the question, you're 100% right, was asked. It was asked by Peter Doocy, which is a right wing Fox media person. It was asked to basically, he asked 2 questions. Just think about out of all the things that are going on, and one of the most important things is what's taking place in China, which we could talk about a little bit because I think that's extremely alarming. My sources are telling me that some of the things that are happening behind the scenes there is extremely alarming to what
Are
Donald
you talking about China's meetup with Modi and Putin and their
Trump.
alliance that's growing there? Okay, yeah.
And Kim Jong Un is there today also, and some of the people that we don't talk about is Erdogan from Turkey is there. I mean, you have you have some things that are happening that's very, and Trump pushed this on them because
Yeah.
and when you have messages coming out of China, when Xi, the leader of the Communist Party and one of the biggest dictators out there, is saying that we are the party of not being a bully, where they're now saying they're not bullies, that because stay away from America because of our bullying, tariffs, our tactic, that's psychological. I mean, even Orban exactly sent somebody. I mean, it was a collection of the who's who of basically, and the one person that wasn't there, the one person that wanted to be there probably more than anybody, the one person that wanted to sit there in the middle and run that show was Donald Trump. And it's so interesting, coincidentally, how this whole week he was out of pocket while this is going on. And even the questioning, if you saw the media when they started, I mean, maybe you had one question. I mean, just think about it. We have right now, probably, it should be the biggest news. You have the leaders, and folks, you have to understand about it. This is not just a regular meeting. You have Modi, who India and China literally were at war 5 years ago. I mean, literally, there is no love lost there. It's not where he came over, and yesterday they were I mean, literally hugging and laughing, and the person that brought them all together, and Putin,
Putin.
and then you had
Putin.
Kim Jong Un flying in. I mean, not flying in, coming on this train, all because of Donald Trump. All because of Donald Trump, all because of what Donald Trump has basically has done, and it's been all. If you've been reading the Substacks, if you've been watching our show here, when me and Watch come on there, it was all the theatrics from the going to Alaska to having all of the European leaders sit in front of him and talk about how, oh my God, look at this, what a surprise! Hey, Allison,
Hey.
one of my favorite people,
Allison, you joined us in mid conversation. I think like me, and you and me and Lev, like Masochist, saw the bullshit Festivus, and what we're focusing. It's all crap. I just tweeted something right before we went live. I'm not. I'm not. I don't think we should even waste our time debunking the lies, and we should actually control the narrative and talk about the story that people should have talked about. Because he didn't answer questions about his health, he didn't answer any question about the Epstein, and he lied about the economy. He lied also about crime, and we should set the record straight. The DC lies, and all these things are making him very unpopular. He doubled down on the tariffs, unpopular. Doubled down on big beautiful bill, poll came out that said 60% of Americans hate it, right? Talked about how America, everyone loves us. And Lev is mentioning this important point that people are talking about, where there was a meeting of the worst people, Modi and Xi and Putin, and literally the world is turning against us. And the irony here is it's not because of national security. It isn't due to economy. The reason why he's pissed off at Modi in India is because they won't give him the Nobel Peace Prize, right?
Yes.
That's why. That's why, folks. And so
It's
I
great.
tweeted this: all you Indian American uncles who voted for Donald Trump, told you, chickens for Colonel Sanders, right? But let's focus before we move on. Let's do this because we got Allison here. Lev, you did this piece on his health. Tell me the sources, what they say about his health. We'll talk about the press conference. We'll talk about Rudy, and we'll talk about the international. So let's talk about the health because you mentioned it in your piece yesterday, and your sources for those who've joined the 1700. Lev's sources have been batting 100 on certain things when they're very confident
1,000.
about something. Yeah, Lev thousand. Excuse me. Lev shares it. It's on point. So for those who don't know, he's not dead. He looked like Donald Trump right now in the press conference. So people say, Lev, what are you talking about?
Yeah, and can I
Well,
just say before Lev starts
yeah, go ahead. I said absolutely. Go
that,
ahead.
yeah, womp womp. His hair's weirder than normal. He looks puffy. He looks kind of shitty, but he always does. At least he has for the past few years. I just want to say how much fun I had this weekend talking about what could potentially be happening. And, it I was kind of trying to temper everybody, say he's just gonna come out and announce that he's invading Venezuela or turning the troops on Chicago. Nothing, just
Rocket
normal
City,
stuff,
Allison.
right? Right?
Rocket City.
Rocket City.
Rocket
And,
City.
Rocket City in
and
Huntsville,
guys,
Alabama.
But the
and you know,
point the point of my diatribe there is that, oh, to just kind of shove it aside and say it's nothing fun. It's probably just the same old stuff right out of the authoritarian playbook where and he's going to, by the way, endanger national security by moving this whole thing to Huntsville. And
Yep.
creating Space Force in the first place was a huge bureaucratic, expensive nightmare, but it's all for, the industrial, what is it called? The
Military industrial complex.
military industrial complex, war fighting machine. The guy who wants the Nobel Peace Prize wants to call it the Department of War. But that aside, I just want to say I had such a good time with everybody this weekend, positing what was going on. But I'm very interested to hear what Lev's sources have to say.
And
yeah, I
Allison
think,
and I were had a really for whatever reason people, I mean, they really enjoyed that chat that we had, Allison. So thank you for joining me because Allison is a workaholic, and then called me, and then I joined her. So thank you. We all mused about it on the weekend. But let's break it down. We'll go step by step. All right. So Lev,
yeah,
his health.
yeah.
What's
So
what's
first
the
of all,
skinny?
so it's like I always say, guys, it's what they're not talking about. And the interesting part, and I have some really close sources that are around him, and they were not around him this whole week, literally. And that was the interesting part. What the because of the close inner circle and the leaks that were not coming out, that it was so tight knit that what really alarmed me, where I think is there's something's wrong. Again, like I said, I'm not a doctor. I don't know what's wrong with them, but there's something definitely wrong with them this week. And it's interesting also about Rocket City that you guys mentioned. So there's always with Donald Trump, where he got that because Steve Witkoff, because Russia, the Soviet Union, has a place called Star City. It's called Star City, which is where the Soviet Union used to have their spaceships and come. I actually visited there when I was back in the Soviet Union. So now we have a rocket city. So going back to his health wise, looking at him and talk, I mean, the puffiness. I mean, definitely not the person, even in his conversation, and even the way he started it off by digressing and going away from it. Trump doesn't talk about things like if he was really healthy, if he was really no, he would be aggressive. He would be attacking it. He'd be attacking the reporters or the whoever was tweeting he was dead. But if you saw the way he said that when Peter Doocy asked him the question, he said, "Oh no, I didn't even know that there was something going on about my health." I mean, total bullshit. I mean, like just the fact that you did not know that Twitter world, where you were the number one,
He knows. That's why
of
he
course,
came on
that's what I'm
TV
saying
from
to
the
you.
Oval Office to announce the movement of
100%,
of
Allison.
this.
So yeah, so it's the fact that that what they're not reporting on, what they're not saying. It's not like if they said, "Hey, you had a cold, didn't feel good or something," but the fact that they're trying to overplay it, make it seem that there's nothing wrong, the fact that there's no leaking coming out, which I'm surprised because of some of the people that are really close around him, the fact that he lied when he came out there that he was active this whole week, which he wasn't, the fact that we didn't hear him not for a whole week, guys, literally from Tuesday
That's
to
nice.
Tuesday. And during the time while supposedly, remember, also, we had a deadline yesterday or today that he imposed on Putin that if he didn't have the conversation or the call with Zelensky, that there was going to be some serious action. That 2 week went by again, nothing about that. So the fact that there was zero, nothing this whole week, and I'm going to say that there's definitely something wrong with them.
Lev, let me ask you a question. There was a video floating around. I'm not sure the veracity of the video or the, whatever, the trustworthiness of the video or where it even originated. It might have originated on Reddit or TikTok. But there was a video of stuff being thrown out of a window at the White
Yeah.
House. And oddly, it was the window, I believe, from my memory and from the memory of a couple of other people who've toured the White House, that is the bathroom off the Lincoln bedroom. I was musing that he's putting all Elon Musk shit into bags and throwing it out the window, but I really have no idea if that video is even. I mean, it seems like why would anybody, create
I,
that as a video? But do you know
Again,
anything about that?
I'm going to look a lot into it after watching what just transpired in the press conference, because at first when I saw the video, my first reaction, I thought it was AI, because
Yeah,
being in the White House, knowing a little bit just from what I know,
you can't just open the
security-wise.
windows, right?
Right, exactly. It's like you just can't open the window. But the way what transpired with the way Peter Doocy asked the question, the way Trump played it off, like, again, knowing nothing about it, having him come up, looking at it, and overplaying his card. One thing, if you guys know, but I'm a poker player, so I play poker. And like, one of the things that when you play poker, you gotta read the person, you gotta read the people, you gotta read, and that's one of the things when I watch these press conferences with Trump, knowing him so well, I watch how he answers, what he doesn't answer, and how he answers, and not just what the press picks up. And that's what I'm saying to you. Not watching that whole thing at first, I didn't think much of it, thought it was AI, but now I'm thinking a little bit more because of the way Ducey put it up. They responded. Again, I don't know
Yeah, I don't know
how.
anything. Then if anybody who's
I don't
listening,
know.
any of the two and a half thousand people that are listening, I've never tried to open the window in
Yeah, I
the
don't
bathroom.
either.
But why would I? If anybody actually knows if that, I know Grok says it was AI, but Grok also says a lot of things. But if anybody knows the origination of that video, I'm out here. I like to try to verify things. The reality of things, and which is kind of why all weekend I was like, he's probably just gonna do some fashy shit like a stop mail-in voting or whatever. Uh,
But
then
see,
the
the
Mueller.
crazy part, Allison, and sorry to interrupt you, is if it was, and this is why, again, you brought a really good point, is why would Peter Doocy, who represents Fox News, ask that question? I'm sure they could have done the due diligence to find out that it was Grok. I mean, that it was not only through Grok but through cameras. See, I mean, that was just a weird question just to bring
It
it
was
up.
like theater. It was
Right,
all performance.
and you saw how he came up to show him
Yep.
on the let me see that. Let me.
And how much of this is to
That's what
distract
got to me.
from is how much of this is to, and I'm not a big person on distraction, especially if it's fascist stuff like, oh, sending troops against citizens is a distraction from something. Like, no, that's actual fascist shit we need to pay attention to. But how much of this is a distraction from the fact that the Epstein survivors are going to be speaking tomorrow?
Yep.
And I've also noticed on the calendar, and Sunday Girl pointed out on social media, the calendar that says he is scheduled a flyover, a military flyover of DC, smack dab in the middle of that press conference with Massey Kana and the survivors of Epstein. So that is also always in the back of my mind, is what is he trying to get us to not pay attention to?
You know what I'm hearing also? I don't want to. I didn't. You. It's like you forced me to say I didn't want to say, but what I'm gonna verify. But what because I heard originally it was Friday, but tomorrow he might send in the garden to Chicago also.
Well, he said it. He said it today. For those now, let's talk about that press conference, and he doubled down on the fascist stuff, which, as Allison said, was distraction. No comments about the Epstein files. No comments about the conference that's happening tomorrow, September 3rd. Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie, bipartisan, bringing at least 10 survivors of Epstein and Maxwell, who raped girls. No real mention of his health except lies that there was no follow-ups with. Strange performances by the world's most mediocre white men and women. Well, one woman, affirmative action for the whitest administration on earth. It was like a North Korea press conference, folks, fawning over the great leader. The press was all deferential. It was all theater, as people said. More racism, saying that fellow Americans are, quote, born criminals. Went on a big rant to set up what Lev is saying, and some of us predicted would be his announcement, not when, well, not if, but when, sending troops to Chicago. He also mentioned Baltimore, doubled down on his very unpopular policy of sending the National Guard troops to D.C., lied about business booming. Nope, business is way down. It was all projection. The whole event was projection and lies, talking about Democrats being corrupt, Democrats lying. And again, speaking about the fascists, it's distraction and part and parcel of the fascist movement, folks. So when he said, he was asked twice, "Why are you moving Space Command to Huntsville?" One reporter said, "What about the employees who are already there?" He goes, "Hey, we'll just get new ones. We'll find new ones." But he mentioned the reason why he's moving it. His words were mail-in voting. Colorado's corrupt, mail-in voting. And then nobody asked him, well, didn't you vote by mail-in voting? Are you saying you're corrupt? So he's telegraphing, folks, and telling you the plot. He's going after mail-in voting. He's going to unleash the National Guard against Chicago. It's just a matter of when. Going to unleash the National Guard against Baltimore. No mention about crime rates in Louisiana or Tennessee and red states. No mention about the Epstein files. No mention really about his health. Double down on the trade war. Double down on the tariffs. No mention about how the price is going up. Said it's the best economy. We just found out today, very dangerous news, that military lawyers will now be acting as immigration judges. So ramping up Stephen Miller's project to get more and more brown people and black people in detention centers. But it was Festivus, and huge splotch on his hand was covered up with garish makeup. That they didn't focus on it, but it was there. Allison, your take on the press conference?
It was honestly just a bunch of the same kind of stuff, greatest hits. He talked about Pritzker. I have the quote here. Pritzker says he doesn't need any help. Last 2 days, the crown jewel, 10 people were killed. I don't know why that's the crown jewel. Only him and Newsome, Pritzker and Newsome are the worst. He'll say we don't need any protection. There's no place in the world like Chicago. You can go to Afghanistan and they don't come close to Chicago. Baltimore is a hellhole. Parts of Los Angeles. If we didn't put out the bullet fires, and by the way, if we didn't put out the bullet fires, and by the way, they should have had the water come down. We had to release the water. But if I didn't send the National Guard into LA, I'd be saying that the Olympics is not coming to LA if we didn't do that. And DC is now safe. We have no crime. You can walk your children down the middle of the street and you're not going to get shot. But it's also really dangerous because he's trying to say it's totally fine now, but it's also really dangerous. And that's why he has to stay there, right? Because he just got ruled against by Judge Boasberg, who said you're allowed to deploy the National Guard to do National Guard stuff, but you can't deploy them against the people. It's a violation of the Posse Comitatus Act. So he's all mad about that. He was asked about the 1.3 million users talking about him being dead over the weekend. And he said, I did a 90-minute interview with somebody. I did numerous shows, posted a bunch on Truth, a lot of truths. I was very active this weekend. I visited people at the golf club I own. It's fake news. It's so fake. That's why the media has so little credibility. I knew they were saying he is okay, but I was very active. I didn't hear it to that extent that I was dead. And I just have to point out, it wasn't the media. The media wasn't covering at all that he had completely disappeared. It was just everybody on social media who's like, you know what? I haven't had a weird twitching in my perineum for like 4 days. What's going on? Oh, Donald Trump hasn't spoken publicly. It's nice. Is he dead? I mean, that's kind of how the whole thing started. And because we compare it to what happened with Joe Biden at the end of 2024 or for the
Exactly.
whole second half of 2024. And we're like, where are the op-eds calling for resignations in the 25th Amendment? And where's Jake Tapper's book about his staff hiding the fact that he's sick? And he's obviously unwell. And like I said, he came out today, had a ton of makeup on. His hair was a little weird, but he did come out today and spoke and stood there and spoke for quite a while. At first, it looked like maybe his right arm wasn't moving, but then he moved it and shook somebody's hand. I was like, all right, okay. He's back to his, 15%.
He powered through it, Allison.
So
I
maybe he
just think
recovered.
he
But the
powered
thing
through.
is,
I don't think he
maybe Lev,
recovered. He powered
yeah,
through it,
Lev,
guys.
Lev and Allison, to your point, he was gone Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, nothing on the schedule, Saturday, Sunday, no close-ups. So whatever he had seems to even then going back to Lev's point, he just doesn't look as sharp because he's 79 years old. And I just saw a close up that Axios put out of his hand, folks. I just retweeted it as Allison was talking. I just found it on my screen, and the hand, woof, it still didn't look good. It still didn't look good, folks.
Did
And
you
the
blue
can,
sky it?
huh?
Did you blue
I'm
sky
I'm
it?
I'm gonna blue sky it right now. Yeah, but even the close up of the hand, woof. It looks rough, folks. It looks rough. Continue, Allison. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, but that's it. The whole us all thinking, something. Oh, maybe something had happened to him, or he wasn't well, or whatever it is. I mean, he's just generally not. Even when he's able to stand up and take questions and speak. But I guess my main concern is that sort of. It's like back in the day, I called it lubing the truth, where he would like release these little things about the terrible things that he had been doing with Russia in order for when the news actually broke, for us to not be as surprised about it. It's also called like drawing the sting, for example. And so I think everybody now talking about on social media how he looked and, which is something the media should be talking about for a long time now, and should always be there. But like I said, it's sort of softened the landing of the fact that he is planning on invading Chicago and
Yep.
Baltimore, and that now Congress is back in session and Massey is going to release an actual resolution to get at the Epstein files for a full House vote to see who's in and who's out, that we've got the Epstein survivors coming out and speaking out, who by the way have just been
They're losing control of America.
steamrolled by this administration and all of the perpetrators of the Epstein sex trafficking crimes. And so, here we are now, like how
Pritzker is live, by the way.
oh good. Good. And he's doing a great job, and Newsom's doing a great job pushing back. And Wes Moore and a lot of the mayors of a lot of these cities that are putting together a united front to try to stop this from happening. I know the mayor of Chicago put together an executive order to try to stop this. I know some other mayors and governors are talking about prosecuting some of these federal agents who come to their cities and violate law enforcement laws, and how they should be prosecuted. And so I think it's important, yes, that we talk about his health and how terrible it is. But that we don't lose sight of the fact that behind all the orange makeup and the Weekend at Bernie's props, he's a fascist, and he's putting together executive orders and
Yep.
Trying to cover up the Epstein files and pull the wool over all of our eyes, with regard to all of this. The fact that it's sort of like a shrug off that he's sending the fucking National Guard into Chicago and DC and LA, and everyone's like, oh, well,
No, not to us, Allison. Not to us.
That's
Not a shrug off to us, but to
No, right.
everyone else. Yeah, but Lev, we've talked about Allison and myself and you and me together and also independently. We have talked about and we've tried to sound the alarm, especially in the past 2 months, that Trump is not leaving. He's not leaving legally. He's not leaving peacefully. And that as more and more as he's getting desperate, and he realizes the polls are turning against him, and the more and more that his health is going down, it's distraction and it's yes and it's a distraction from everything else, folks, that's happening, but it's also in furtherance of the authoritarian agenda. And people still, our corporate media, our colleagues, I don't even call them colleagues anymore, are just cowards. They're just weak. They're behind the scenes, just failures right now. They still aren't even like raising alarm or even framing this properly. So tomorrow, to distract from the Epstein files where Massey and Khanna are coming, if I'm Donald Trump, I'm just going to leash the National Guard in Chicago or Baltimore, right? And then again, I want to stress again, folks, for the nearly 3,000 people who are watching, a small little tidbit that will just be thrown up at the wayside, but it's completely abnormal, is that he twice in his press conference, when asked, your main press conference today is to announce that you have moved Space Command from Colorado to Huntsville for no reason, by the way. And it's going to cost a lot of money. And all the qualified, intelligent people, when asked, well, are they going to move? He goes, I think they will. If they're not, we'll get new ones. It doesn't work that way. And when asked, well, why are you doing it?
Didn't he say something about how it's closer so the planes don't have to fly as far? I don't know what closer to.
Something so stupid that I think my brain deleted it, or otherwise I would pass out. But he said, again, the lie. This is a massive lie about mail-in voting. Mail-in voting is legal. Donald Trump has done it. Democracies do it. His base needs it. He's attacking mail-in voting because Putin put that worm in his ear, and he wants to make sure that he gets the House and the Senate and all the data, folks. If you look at the governor's race and the races, the lieutenant governor's races in all these states that's happening. If you look at all the races, the trend is very clear. It seems people are regretting voting for Donald Trump. Bloomberg just came out with a really amazing number that showed the 18 to 39 vote for Donald Trump, like all these first-time voters. Folks, has gone like this. Already regretting it, right? So he's openly telling you, I'm moving it from Colorado to Huntsville because Colorado, the Democrats lie. It's corrupt mail-in voting. So he's telling you the plot. And so, Lev, what have you heard about the endgame, the plot, and also J.D. Vance's role in this?
Well, first of all, I'm trying to figure out who does a better Trump impression, you or Allison. I love both of you guys.
Allison.
I love it. I gotta learn. I gotta try and get started.
That's it. Allison makes a better face. Wow, that's scary.
Yeah. The lips and everything, right? She makes it. You can
It's
tell.
method acting. I just turn into a potato with butthole lips.
Okay, listen. Not all of us have butthole lips. I also have butthole lips, Allison. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Continue, Lev.
First of all, J.D. Vance, let's talk about him. I mean, you watching, he's standing there right now gloating. I mean, he's sitting there just waiting. You could tell he's hoping that something happens to Trump and he could just step right in. That's why he's standing on the sideline. You don't see him really actively attacking any subject, debating anything. And also you see also the other quiet parts like Elon Musk not getting involved really, Peter Thiel very quiet. You see those like tech bros and all of them standing on the sideline the past several weeks and letting Trump really like kind of disintegrate a little bit as they say it. And obviously that's their plan all along, is to try to and for them it would be a gold mine if something were to happen to Trump and he was not able to fulfill his 4 years and pass it on to JD, and that would be obviously the prize of prizes for them. But the end game, watch. It's what we've been talking about. I think Allison, you, I, and all of us combined have been screaming at the top of our lungs, is that Donald Trump, those of us that know him very well, those of us that have worked in his administration, those of us that have reported on him, those of us that followed him and have really become astute in what he does, know for a fact it's not, we're not fear mongering. We're not trying to just, put some conspiracy. He is not planning on leaving anywhere. That doesn't mean physically, mentally, or whatever. When we say that, that's the ideology of what's being implanted through Project 2025. Donald Trump is just the face right now of a movement. The movement is being pushed by people like Stephen Miller, people like Russell Vought, people now like I'm hearing Susie Wiles on board,
Yep.
and others that are a lot smarter, a lot more, in tune with what they want, and they're using Donald Trump as the figurehead to push this through, because Donald Trump doesn't care about anything except his own self gratification.
Yeah.
Getting that, and that's why, because of that, they're able to push all of that through. So the end game is to stay in power at any cost, to steal the election at any cost, to rig the election. Because listen, what he's saying today, Waj, we spoke on your show about almost a month ago, talking about how he's planning on canceling. Even before I think Putin spoke to him, we discussed it, that part of his game plan was, election reform, which I've been talking about, was that
We
project.
said like this: election reform.
Exactly. And that included getting rid of mail-in voting,
Yep, we talked
getting rid
about it.
of electronic voting, intimidating voters by using ICE, all of these things we've been laying
Yeah.
out, for a while. So it's not like now he's, like Allison said, he's making these things sound, because if you repeat them long enough, and if you have the National Guard in every city long enough, in every state, you become to rationalize, like normalizing it.
Well,
And
breaking news, Lev and Allison, breaking news. Speaking about normalization, and this just disgusts me. And this was part of the plan. And MAGA, they won. Breaking news, Washington Post, Allison and Lev. Mayor Bowser welcomes federal law enforcement presence indefinitely, issues an executive order requiring local coordination with federal law enforcement, quote, to the maximum extent allowable by law within the district. The order gives no expiration date. Allison, response.
Wow.
Why is she doing that?
She bowed down.
She bowed down.
She bowed down. Simple as that.
What does this have anything to do with? I mean, the continuing resolution.
Real quick, by law, Trump's federalization of the DC police force lasts 30 days and was set to expire next week. Bowser's announcement may quell any showdown over what happens after the deadline passes by authorizing continued cooperation between the city and federal authorities. 2,000 armed National Guard members unleashed on the nation's capital, 20 minutes away from where I am, literally wasting taxpayer dollars, literally not doing their job to keep the country safe, picking up trash because we gutted the people who already pick up trash. When you exit Union Station now, you just see National Guard members. You see two mini armored vehicles. Folks, traffic to DC has gone down. Bars and restaurants have complained about just plummeting numbers through when it comes to dine-in traffic. Uber drivers, like I mentioned the story, Uber drivers are trying to avoid DC now. It's been disastrous. 80% of DC residents are pissed off and don't want them there. And this is what just happened while Governor Pritzker, as we mentioned, went live, still talking, by the way,
We're talking, yep.
and responding to Donald Trump's threats. It's just a matter of when, not if, he will unleash the National Guard in Chicago and then also Baltimore. And we also have the National Guard and master armed agents in LA. Allison.
I don't know if this has anything to do with the strong arming of the complete stripping of the $1.1 billion budget of DC and her hands being tied. She can't fund her own law enforcement in the city. And maybe this is because of that. And by the way, I want to remind everybody that there were 10 Democrats or 9 Democrats that voted to put that continuing resolution on the floor that stripped DC of its budget because the Republicans promised that they would pass a separate bill to fund it, which they did in the Senate, but the House and Mike Johnson didn't take it up because Donald Trump didn't want him to. He wanted to have the city of DC by the short hairs by completely defunding their local law enforcement, so as to the federal law enforcement being necessary. That is the only thing, without actually asking Muriel Bowser to her face why she's doing this. That is the only thing that I can come up with as to why she might be doing this. And as far as the end game, Lev, that you were talking about, it's just everything that he wanted to do in his first term but couldn't because there were adults in the room.
That's right.
And so what he wants to do is stay in power indefinitely and give the ruling class, the minority, the oligarchs, the ability to run this government, completely break it apart, sell it off in pieces, and have
Yep.
his rich donor billionaire friends do do the work of the government at a much higher cost to us, while lining his donors' pockets. And taxing the middle class to get it done by stripping us of our health care. That's what he wanted to do, and that explains every single agency that we've seen that's being dismantled, whether it's the Department of Veterans Affairs. He wanted to get rid of veterans benefits in his first term, and they said, you'll never get reelected if you do. But now he's going to attack the elections to make it Putin-esque, right? So that
Absolutely.
they always stay in the minority power, the oligarchs stay in power. But as far as DC goes, that's the only thing I can come up with, Waj and Lev,
Yeah.
is that she doesn't, that DC doesn't really have a choice because they weren't funded.
So,
Well, can I say something real quick, Lev? I'll send it to you. Lindsay, Lindsay, who's watching a couple minutes ago, she said, "What's the end game of the oligarchs of the Peter Thiels?" And I strongly recommend people listen to my conversation with Gill Duran that I published yesterday. Gill Duran is a journalist from California, the editor of Nerdreich. I've had him on 3 times. We talked about exactly this. What's the end game? Why did Peter Thiel groom JD Vance for this moment? We connect the dots. Strongly recommend listening to that conversation. Also, to go back on point with what Allison said, an example, and someone just mentioned this just a couple of minutes ago. Corporate raiders. That's exactly it. Imagine corporate raiders, private equity funds. If you want a look into what they're going to do to America, look at what happened to Toys R Us, folks, where private equity firms came in, bought out the company for $6 billion and loaded the company with about $5 billion in debt. Like Soprano stuff, right? So they came in, they just like hollowed out the company. It's like another analogy I give from that movie, There Will Be Blood, where Daniel Day-Lewis goes, "I drink your milkshake." He puts the straw in and he just sucks everything up, right? So they're gonna just hollow out America, hollow it out. All of our institutions, privatize everything. Gut, and then they're gonna make the money, right? And then they'll make their money off of crypto as the U.S. currency goes down, also part and parcel of the oligarchy's plan. And then again, I just want to mention the march towards authoritarianism. Another big piece of news that happened today, Lev, I just don't want to forget it. As he's talking about ramping up and normalizing the presence of the National Guard, as Lev said, and literally coinciding with what Lev said, normalizing it, Mayor Bowser capitulated. So it's in California now. It's in the nation's capital. It's going to be in Chicago. It's going to be in Baltimore. And a good Blue Sky post talking about what's another big piece of news that's happening and the attack on immigration, folks, because it's not just it's distraction, and it's all part and parcel of the march towards authoritarianism. I just want everyone to step back and take a big picture look at what is happening. Naotoshi Maeda makes a really good point, Lev, on Blue Sky. Trump is such a malicious bastard. He fired immigration judges, leaving immigrants stuck in limbo, at constant risk of being kidnapped by ICE. Now, the Pentagon has authorized up to 600 military lawyers, another breaking news from today, who have no experience with immigration law to serve as judges. This can't end well. Sorry for that aside. Lev, please.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's important. Everything you just said. I mean, with the judges, is crazy. But I want to touch on what, the breaking news you just broke about Mayor Bowser, which is a little concerning to me. And it fits into something I've been working on so I've been working on the story through some of my sources. I haven't confirmed everything yet, but this is kind of plays into what I've been hearing, is that going back to even when Trump was pushing his big ugly bill through the Congress and through Senate, and when we had reportings that in the background that Trump was making phone calls himself, speaking to congressmen, senators, making them, there were rumors of what are they talking about? What is he offering them? Why are they, flipping sides and agreeing to what he's doing? So some of my sources have been telling me that Trump has been using the power of the FBI, the DOJ, and the information sources that they've been using to accumulate and threatening some of these people with very simple things like mortgage fraud, tax evasion, all kinds of things
Lisa Cook.
which like exactly Lisa Cook and others. And when you hear Mayor Bowser, and I don't want to put that out there as a conspiracy theory because we only deal in facts, but this is something, like Allison said, that the only thing she could think of would be something like that. But other things that I could think of that could maybe add on to it is maybe there's an intimidation role going on also because, just think about Lisa Cook. You got also Adam Schiff. They're going
It's
after.
easy to intimidate a city leader when you've defunded them by $1.1 billion, and you have the ability to turn that faucet back on again by putting Mike Johnson on the floor to pass the funding of DC. And this is like right now, as I'm sitting here, I'm seething. We have to because that continuing resolution that Schumer allowed to get to the floor vote and pass that defunded DC lasts through the end of September, through the end of the fiscal year. And so we're going to be having a need to pass another continuing resolution. We haven't had a budget for however many years, but we will need to pass another continuing resolution. And so right now, I am starting my letter writing campaign, my phone call screaming into the motherfucking phone campaign to my Democratic senators and my representatives to tell them, do not pass, right? I'm going to be Gandalf, motherfucker. Like, I am so angry right now. You shall not pass a continuing resolution. If it means shutting down the government, this broken ass government, shut it down. I have talked to thousands of federal workers who agree with that. Normally, federal workers and federal workforce, I'm a former one, you'd be like, please don't shut down the government.
No, shut it down.
Shut it down. Do not pass this continuing resolution. And not just to get until you get DC funded, but until the Epstein files are released. And I put all of the things we need until you overturn
get the National Guard out of our state, cities.
Mail-in voting. Stop deploying the National Guard. Stop your fashy shit. Make a list. And make sure that you call and you write and you scream and you push publicly. I know a lot of people are like, oh, Dems, circular firing squad, you shouldn't be getting mad at other Democrats. This is not 3 months before an election. Okay, Chuck Schumer's seat will stay blue. Okay, I am going to go after them hard and I am not going to stop until they shut this shit down. I am sick of it. And we need to stop bending the knee and rolling over because they will fuck us and stab us in the back at every turn. And pardon me for all of my swear words.
No, I completely agree. And it was Schumer who stabbed the House Democrats in the back. He also stabbed the establishment under the back. And at the last second, he did a 180, folks. I like to keep the receipts. And then all of a sudden, he said, I got a bunch of senators. And once he got enough senators, they came in and then voted for to keep funding the government. And then guess what happened? Donald Trump used and Republicans used that excuse to further annihilate and eliminate government agencies. And everyone suspects, we don't know, that Schumer at the last second got a phone call from some corporate donors in New York and said, well, you got to keep the government funded because this will be bad for the economy. And then Schumer did a 180. And ever since then, Schumer's polls have been like at 12%, 13%. I've said before, I'll say it again. Schumer and Jeffries, the current leadership is not built for this fight. They are not made for this moment. My co-host Danielle has kept saying, shut it down, shut it down, shut it down, national strike. I agree with Allison. Yes, there will be pain, but this is the United States of amnesia. Once people realize how important government officials and agencies are, and they'll be like, oh shit, I'm pissed. I want my mail, right? Like, what's happening? And guess who that will look poorly upon? Donald Trump, who, again, for the 3,500 people are joining us, is underwater in the ratings. He is negative double digits on the trade war, negative double digits on tariffs, negative double digits when it comes to the big, beautiful bill, negative double digits on Epstein. And his youth base has abandoned him. The 18 to 29 voters voted for him for the first time. The Theo Vaughn, Joe Rogan base, gone. Latino voters have flipped back to 2016. There have been some good news, which we'll talk about. We'll end with some good news in a little bit. So you see pockets of resistance, folks, but you don't see that Democratic leadership bring out the big guns. And I tweeted to Governor Pritzker, like right during that folks, right during Trump's presser. I said, Pritzker, step up. Now's the moment. Who am I? I'm nobody. But Pritzker seems to have realized he was prepared, and they're still going right now, folks. Pritzker and his team are still talking. But Lev, I give it to you because you were nodding along with Allison.
Well, listen, yeah, no, I definitely, and as Governor Pritzker goes, I'm actually speaking to some of his people behind the scenes, trying to help out any way I can, because I think information is key, and the more information they have to deal with this maniac, the better it is. And I mean, listen, we've been sounding the alarm, we're talking about it. You know, people need to start listening and waking up, and stop saying it's not going to happen, or it can't happen, or this is just talk, or putting it aside, and realize that we are living in a dictatorship. We're living in a authoritarianism, and we need to stop, trying to appease to the cameras like Schumer does, and trying to look good, but we need to take action. And sometimes action is drastic, but you have to do that drastic action to be able to prevail, just like shutting it down. Just like, yes, it might not be the perfect thing, and it's not going to be the perfect answer, but like Allison said, we can't let this continue. We can't let them continue doing what they're doing, because that's what they're feeding on. They know the Democratic plan. They watched it. I've been there. I've lived. I was part of them. I remember them sitting there, us sitting there in the BLT in Trump hotel, talking about how the Democrats and how the media is going to react to when Solomon or Fox puts out this press release. And I'm watching it. Nothing changed. It's the same playbook. They need to stop. They need to change. They need to get out of that echo chamber that they're living in, and they need to go out and see what the real world's about and start dealing with it.
I want to ask two more questions. First one to you and Allison, then I want to talk about Rudy G with Lev. But what should Democrats do in this moment? Because Trump's plan is clear, whether people want to acknowledge it or not. We've always been here, folks. We connect the dots, we keep it straight, and unfortunately, it's the world's worst. I told you so. I'm not looking for a pat on the back. I don't want any flowers. I wish I was wrong. I wish Lev was wrong. I wish Allison was wrong. But they've had some wins. A judge saying, Trump's unleashing of the National Guard violates the Posse Comitatus Act. A judge yesterday saying you can't deport these kids to Guatemala. You're seeing little fissures here and there. You're seeing people push back. What should Democrats do in this current moment moving forward, Allison?
Shut it down. I can't get past this, and attach all sorts of requirements to that. Say we will only fund the government. And this is for Senate Democrats, obviously, because House Democrats can't do anything to stop the simple minority that they need, but they need 60 votes in the Senate. And you need cloture, right, in order to get 51 votes in the Senate to pass it. Don't let that cloture happen. Senate Democrats, shut it down. Do not let it happen unless you withdraw your federal law enforcement from our cities. You protect our elections by, not require, like, you just stay out of it federally. Just stay out of our elections. And maybe put some election protections in there. Release the entire unredacted full Epstein files. Fund DC, whatever you want to attach to it, things that have to happen in order for us to be able to have free and fair elections. That whatever needs to happen in order for us to not have be invaded by troops on U.S. soil against its own citizens. Put those requirements in there and just don't fund it. Just don't fund the government unless those things happen. That's what I think Democrats need
I'm
to do.
going to predict that this current Democratic establishment and leadership is going to fail us. And I say this based upon the leadership and the actions and behavior and rhetoric of Schumer and Jeffries, who, as of now, September 2nd, have yet to endorse Zoran Mamdani. And I heard from Captain Blaha, who's a progressive National Guard member of Illinois. It's a fantastic interview. I think it came out last week. He's progressive. He's running in Congress and anti-establishment. And he was telling me behind the scenes that Graham Plattner, who is rising, who just got endorsed by Bernie, who's about to take on Susan Collins, the establishment internally is trying to take him down as well. I don't think they're built for this fight. I think they are wedded to corporate America, APAC, and business as usual. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I'm just basing it based on their actions and their behavior and the evidence before us. However, if enough Democrats sound the alarm and get on their case, we have seen them shift a little bit. So I hope, and especially Democrats who saw how Schumer just essentially kamikazed his political career as a result of capitulating the first time. He has not been able to recover. I think if we, the majority, put the pressure on Democrats, it will force them to move and adapt and evolve. And the
They
ones
have
who
been,
can't,
right? They have
yeah,
been responding to pressure.
that's what I'm saying. It works. That's the only thing that works, folks. And if they can't do it, then you cull it. And then respect also to, I give props where props are due. Always, I try to be fair. Nadler. Nadler realizes the moment, sees it, says, you know what? Respect to Nadler for saying, I see where the winds are blowing. I have to take care of democracy. There needs to be a change in leadership. He announced his retirement. And furthermore, he's Jewish American, the oldest Jewish American member of the House, and even though he hasn't called what Israel is doing a genocide, said Netanyahu has to stop. So he understands where the people are, and for the sake of the country, he put the country over his ego and said, "All right, I'm going to resign." So respect for him. We need leaders like that. I'm going to give it to you. Speaking about leaders who are corrupt, go ahead.
Felon, I have to go
All right.
because my phone is going to die.
I want to ask Lev one last thing, but thank you, Allison. This is for the 3,700 people who are watching. This is Allison Gill of Mueller, She Wrote. She's independent. She's a terrible capitalist like me. She works nonstop. She's a one-woman machine. Become a subscriber to Mueller, She Wrote, and also to the Daily Beans podcast. If you have a few bucks, go fund Allison. She does not take money from billionaires. It's again Mueller, She Wrote, and the Daily Beans podcast. What did I miss, Allison?
No, that's it. You got it. All my stuff is free. So if any money you kick in is totally voluntary, you don't get any extra access or anything. Like I don't do any like pole dancing or anything on the weekends for anybody.
She does an extra spicy Trump impression with butthole lips for the paid subscribers.
I do some pole dancing for some.
Lev, I don't think we need to hear about that.
Yeah. Lev, we don't shame you, but there's certain things we don't need to see, Lev. So there's no paywalls, everything's free. So please subscribe to Allison and give her some money. And for those who joined us a little bit late, we not only gave you the cliff notes really of Trump's bullshit presser. Don't spend too much time debunking the lies, but we're talking about the end game, folks. We're talking about what's really happening behind the scenes. It's not a distraction. It's a distraction, and all of it's combined towards an authoritarian endgame. And Lev also has been here talking about his sources who said that Trump is not well. He seems to have recovered, but folks, he's not well. I posted on Blue Sky the photo of his palm from today. He's the oldest man to be elected, and they're putting Project 2025 on steroids because I think the people around him realize he might be going down. Thank you, Allison. Really appreciate it. And the final question I have for Lev is Rudy Giuliani. Apparently, he was trying to save someone, which is why he was in that car accident. That's what we heard. And then he's such a great resource, a man who got disbarred, a man who promoted the election conspiracies, a man who's a liar, that he's now getting the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which means the Presidential Medal of Freedom means nothing. Talk to us about the Rudy G of it all.
I mean, it's crazy, Waj. It's just so surreal to me because I remember us having me and Rudy sitting there where Rudy's telling me that we're going to get the Presidential Medal of Freedom together, that's just something we were supposed to get for our job of what we were doing in Ukraine, our intimidating Zelensky and doing all pushing the Russian propaganda. That is why Rudy's winning just think about it. He's not getting. And this is what I was supposed to receive it for also. That's why it's so crazy to think that he actually is going to get it now. He's going to get the medal for pushing Russian propaganda, working as a Russian agent to push Russian propaganda to impeach American sitting president, to be able to interfere in our elections, to go intimidate other presidents and prime ministers in other countries. And I could tell you because I was there with them doing it. I was the one that actually was doing this stuff. And watching, hearing him say that he's going to give him, I mean, it's just. This is the America we live in. What can I say, Waj? This is the problem. This is the America we live in because you don't. I grew up at least in a country looking for and try to bring my kids up in a way where you get rewarded for doing the right thing. You get rewarded for doing good things. And now we're living in an upside down world where, you get rewarded for being a criminal. You get rewarded for doing bad things. You get rewarded for being a sexual abuser, or stealing or robbing. Because just think about what since he's come into office, how many criminals has he rewarded from the 1600 January 6th, that he pardoned, to just think about all the white collar criminals, how much money that was supposed to be given back to all these people that now is not because of the pardons he's given. I mean, so it's sad to see, but it doesn't surprise me. To me, it was kind of me and my wife chuckled a little bit because she would say to me, well, because I would come home all the time from when I would travel to Ukraine back when I was in the Trump mega world, and my wife would say to me, "Are you crazy? Like, what are you doing?" And I would say to her, I say, "Honey, you're gonna wait till we're standing there and I'm getting the Medal of Freedom put on put on my neck."
Can I ask you, Lev? You went to jail for it. And then you came out. Does it just piss you off when you sit there and go, I know all these corrupt criminal bastards, and I'm the one that went to jail, and all these people are getting rewarded?
At some point in the beginning, it was a little bit, but that passed. I mean, I'm so farther more pissed off at what they're doing to our country, and so much more pissed off what they're doing to our kids, to our health, by putting RFK and what they're destroying our health system, our economy, what they're doing all over. I mean, and knowing that and the really hard part was is when I speak to my sources, people that are in the inside, people that we've been knowing this and watching it, and then watching the press conferences or watching the media report on it, and watching some of these people get away and rewarded for it. It is sickening. It's sickening to watch, knowing that they're actually it's like sometimes, like Trump says, and they're getting away with murder. Like, they're getting away literally with some of the. It's incredible to see, and that's why I pray and hope that we do take back the House and hopefully the Senate. That somehow, with God's help, that He doesn't invoke martial law. That there's somehow we're able to have even if it's not a fully fair election, even if that we have some sort of election, because I feel that any kind of election he's going to go down, because like you said, his numbers polls are just he's at all-time lows. His bill is disgusting. His immigration policies are off the charts. And it goes on and on. So that is why the next year and 3 months, and that's why one of the things I'm concentrating also on, because of what you've been saying, and I've been also listening to what you say, like Mary Trump, I've been speaking to, and others that
Yeah, she really appreciated talking to you. Behind
she's
the scenes,
incredible.
I told
Incredible.
Mary, talk to Lev. He goes, really? And I said, I think you guys will get along. And then I haven't seen your conversation, but then she texted me afterwards. She goes, oh, that was surprising. I really enjoyed talking to him. So sorry,
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah, no, she was incredible. She actually was surprised to know that I actually worked for her grandfather, Fred. She was like, "Oh," she goes, "I feel sorry for you that you had to meet him." But no, it was a really great guy. But from speaking to her and others, understanding that, and like you, that the leadership, the Hakeem Jeffries, yeah, they might be great to go out there and speak for 20 hours and filibuster and put on a show, or have Schumer run around and say, "I'm standing up," but they're not what's going to defeat Donald Trump. They're not
Nope.
what we need to move on. And that's why I'm sounding the alarm. And what I'm hoping is, instead of maybe looking for that leader right now, we concentrate on the state by state. And
Yep.
I'm starting to, and I'm reaching out now to these individual races, and
Yep.
instead, and start, because I think some of these individual senators and congressmen and women that are running, they want my help. They want our help. They need our help. And I think think if that's where I'm going to put my concentration, and not because the leadership is not only letting us down, but there is nobody to to really help right now, because they're all in their own little echo chamber trying to do their own little thing.
I think you need Democratic governors. You should go. Westmore felt the heat. He came out. Pritzker, Newsom. I think the Democratic governors of states will be huge. Mayors will be huge. I think these ascended politicians like Zoran Mamdani and also the man who's anti-establishment running against Susan Collins, that will be good, because then, folks, human nature, politicians realize, wait a second, I'm not getting money, I'm not getting the votes, and this young guy or girl is nipping at the heels. Okay, if I want to stay relevant, I have to move. And if you can't move, then like Kristen Sinema, you apparently leave and make millions of dollars off of crypto, right? Yeah. So we need to push them, to move them, to act like the fighters who can acknowledge the threat at this moment. And if they're incapable or unable to do it, they have to be primary. It's done. It's over.
That's right.
So
That's
when
right.
people say to me, and Allison talked about this, why are you so tough on Democrats? I hope it's clear to anyone who watches me. I don't do it both sides. We literally call Trump a fascist. We're calling out MAGA. But if the Democratic Party, which is the only opposition party that you and I have, Lev, that's all we got, right? If they are not capable of meeting a moment, we criticize them to sharpen the knife, right? Right now, it's a dull blade. A dull blade will not save us. So locally, do what you can, folks, street by street. Run for school board, run for city council, right? Support local politicians, your governors, be on them, corporate media, shame them, mock them. If not, support independent media, right? Strikes, boycotts. It works, folks, because again, at the end of the day, I've always said this country worships money. It's the United States of America. In God we trust. Money. The color green is the only green that trumps all other colors. And Donald Trump can lie about Space Force. He can lie about crime. He can lie about all this other shit. But no matter how much he lies, people know what's in their wallet. Lev, they know what's in their wallet.
That's
and the
right.
economy is not looking good. He's underwater on tariffs, underwater on inflation, underwater in the economy, now underwater on immigration, completely underwater on Epstein. That's why I keep saying Epstein, use that wedge. Epstein, Epstein, Epstein. It's the only thing that unites Americans. It's the only bipartisan issue where a majority of independents, Democrats, Republicans are like, yeah, what about the Epstein files? And furthermore, just raise the alarm. Stop normalizing this shit, right? At first it's DC, then it's gonna be then it's LA, then it's gonna be Baltimore, then it's gonna be Chicago, then it's gonna be even red states. Fascists turn on everyone, folks. And Wall Street Journal a couple of days ago over the weekend came out with an article saying that Donald Trump now is turning on some of the yes men within his administration. It's already happening. Lev and I talked about that. The infighting is already happening, folks. These people they're not loyal to anyone. Thank God we have a very incompetent, reckless administration. That's one of the blessings. But this is disastrous and people will die, folks. And especially as RFK, as Lev said, we've talked about it a lot on the show. Really strongly recommend listening to my conversation that I published yesterday with Dr. Kavitha Patel. We really connect the dots about how they're dismantling our public healthcare infrastructure system and what to do to survive. I think it's a very important conversation that I have put out for free. Lev, thank you for joining us. There's 4,000 people, which is, I think, the second most audience I've ever gone. The first one was Heather Cox Richardson. We had like 30,000. So this is 4,000 people who've seen us. We've been talking for about an hour. We're going to have this conversation up. Recommend listening to it. It's Allison, myself, Lev. It'll be free with transcripts. We try to connect the dots. We do our analysis of the Trump presser, but more importantly, we talk about the endgame. Lev talks about his sources, about Donald Trump's health. We also talked about that breaking news that mayor of D.C. is apparently perfectly fine, keeping the National Guard there permanently. Some more breaking news about military lawyers now acting as immigration judges. That's going to be terrible. Talking about Donald Trump's lies, his racism, how he's going to send the National Guard to Chicago. Pritzker, in response, I think he's still talking, folks. I don't know. I think he finished. And so, folks, the end game is authoritarianism. The end game is authoritarianism. And to bring it back full circle, Donald Trump's whole press conference today was to announce, well, it already got leaked because Pete Kex had effed it up, was to announce that Space Command will move from Colorado to Alabama. And when asked twice, he's still talking. He's still talking. Pritzker's still talking. Good for him. When asked why, he couldn't help himself Everyone else there was on message. They talked about the economy and security. Donald Trump can't help it. He always lies, projects. Donald Trump said it's because Colorado's corrupt and they have mail-in voting, and the mail-in voting's corrupt, and so we got to stop mail-in voting. He's giving you the plot. Jim Acosta's here. Jim, you want to join us real quick? Let me see if I could get Jim's take on this. If Jim doesn't want to join, Jim, tell me. If you can join, go ahead. I just want to give Jim's quick take. Jim, I sent you an invite on Substack app live. If you want to join us real quick, wanted your take on this. But Lev,
Jim was great. We did a Substack, me and Jim. I mean, Jim really breaks it down really good. So yeah, if you want to join us, come on up.
Lev, what did I miss? Oh, we also talked about JD Vance, and we talked about how the people are waiting. The Peter Thiels, the JD Vances, and the Russell Vaughts, and the Elon Musk. They're all waiting. Oh, one question I want to ask you real quick, Lev. You said watch the space with Bongino. Anything else on Bongino?
No, I mean, basically, the latest I heard, there's no coordination. Bongino is, and you still see Bongino stay away from the Epstein thing like the plague. He hasn't tweeted, text, spoken about. It's still there, and now actually their whole plan blew up in their face a little bit with releasing of the tapes, because obviously any normal person saw that was not an interrogation, but more of just like a conversation between Trump's lawyer and her, and that. So there's watch that space. That's still very much in the air, and that's something that's floating. So far, nothing.
Jim hasn't responded, which means he's rejected my invite, but that's okay. I will never forgive him. But also, one final point I want to make is that whole theater that you all saw, folks, that was supposed to be a press conference. And remember, back in the day, there used to be, even in the first Trump administration, there used to be actual pushback. There used to be questions. Donald Trump deliberately went to all the yes men, all the reeks, because the press corps has been hollowed out. And actual journalists did not ask the right questions because they were not called on. It was all theater. Jim was one of those people who actually used to do pushback, and he was punished for it. Several people, Brian Karam and others, AP. So this is what happens in North Korea. This is what happens in Russia. This is what happens in dictatorships, and it should not in any way, shape, or form be normalized. Folks, thank you all for watching. This has been The Left Hook. I have no paywalls. Everything is for free. We're independent. And with Lev Parnas of Lev Remembers, he's also independent. Folks, if you can, at the very least, please subscribe. It's free. Everything is free. Comments are free. The interviews are free. The articles are free. I don't just you watch 5 minutes and I say, if you want more, pay $5. It's all out there. If you can become a paid subscriber, please do. I believe that people should be informed during the collapse of democracy with an informed electorate. That's how you can unite and organize. And we need to organize to shut things down. Boycotts, strikes, and pressure. Put pressure on Democrats because Democrats can be moved, folks. That's why you put pressure on Democrats. They can be moved. Republicans, they don't give a shit. They're going all in. They don't care that their own base hates the billionaire bill. They don't care that their own base is going to die after they gut Medicaid. They don't care. They're like corporate raiders. They're going to drink everyone's milkshake, even their own bases. So we're trying our best to sound the alarm. Lev has great sources and scoops. I appreciate your time, Lev. Appreciate everyone watching. Thank you all. Be kind, be decent, and please, oh, please don't be a fascist. Take care, Lev.
Thank you.